case I saw this year, other than being expelled and losing your scholarship, the worst one I saw, that a student was actually told by the administration that he would have to move in with a chosen family with whom he would live to then be reprogrammed so he would be living his life in accordance with God's will. And was told he couldn't take his finals unless he transferred in with this family. So we go and say, wait, stop. This is really not okay. This is causing spiritual damage in the lives of these young people. If you really don't want them here, if that's the truth, and they are willing to leave, let us at least find safe spaces for them to transition. Don't ruin their futures by taking away their scholarships. Interestingly, though, most students do not want to leave those schools. And I get that. I'm a fourth-generation Abilene Christian University graduate. That was my school. My great-grandfather planted the trees there. I wanted to go there. But my children cannot go there and be openly gay. So they have an ex-gay ministry still on campus. So that's part of what we do. We work specifically to try and get some sort of softening around the policies and practices, and in dorms where there's a lot of harassment and trouble, to try and get the residential counselors and other people, give them education and training so they can help prevent bullying, which, as you know, people who are bullied in high school and college who identify as LGBT are 8 times more likely to commit suicide. So we do a lot of prevention work on campuses. So that's one whole body of our work. It takes about 60% of our budget. We visit about 35 campuses on the ride itself, and we work with, I would say probably there's a call from all of the distinctively Christian colleges every year. But then we work with another 800 or so secular or non-distinctively Christian colleges who are going through a discernment process, just like churches and denominations are going through. What are we going to do? We work with them with education and training, trying to help support them in that process. The other part of our work, which we're most famous for, is going and working with denominations. When Reverend Mel White was leading Soulforce, did a lot of work with Lutheran, Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Southern Baptist, the Vatican, all those places, to around the issue of ordination of LGBT people, around the issue of marriage, and were most often arrested by the denominational leadership for disrupting their process.
Have you found success?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the first articles I wrote on the Huffington Post I was sharing with them was about the decision within the Evangelical Lutheran Church and their movement forward. And we just have enormous joy when we see anything happen that sort of opens the church up. It's like that, going from that landing space in the comfortable chair and then deciding to go out in the mangrove jungle and meet some other folks. I mean, that for us, when people make that choice, whether that's as an individual, I make it, or a minister makes it within a church, or at a college campus, or a denomination, we actually view that as the work of the Spirit in opening all of us up to one another. So that's how we measure success. We also have, from a quantifiable standpoint, 14 of the 211 last year eliminated the statement from their school student conduct that homosexuality is incompatible with God's design for humankind, as did Focus on the Family. And we'd worked on that for 12 years. So that's how we count our successes when they happen. Yes? Sure.
If you could stay up, that would be welcome too. I first of all want to say I am grateful for Soulforce and the work you're doing, the publications you've presented. In my ministry, we use what the Bible really says about homosexuality. I give that out like candy at my ministry, namely because it is able to meet people where they're at. For people in the middle of the road on the issue, I can enter a dialogue, but for people who seem to be on the far edge, that's challenging. That publication has been very helpful to me. On this campus, we're obviously a secular school with lots of religious life here. The university is doing great things. We have a divide sometimes among our campus ministries. And curious if you have stories or know of other campuses where they are bridging some of that divide, and perhaps if there's suggestions for how we can get fruitful dialogue that isn't just getting a room full of like-minded people saying, yeah, we feel this way about it, but truly opening up that dialogue. And I realize I'm appreciative of your work on the Christian colleges, and I've been following that and I'm grateful for that, but this is kind of a different context. I'm looking for ideas.
Okay. To me, dialogue, is that me? That's not me. Okay. No, it's okay. I never know if I'm singing or not, so it's, to me, the dialogue piece, at Soulforce, of course, I think the skill that we bring is getting people who are very, very polarized to even speak. And sometimes they start out, they're just spitting at each other or throwing things at each other. The challenge on a campus where you have a whole lot of people who may identify as liberal, whatever liberal means, is that we're still sitting in the chair I was describing, drinking our pina coladas. We're just drinking them under our own particular umbrella. And we have no particular need or desire to go into other territory. Why? I mean, how many people in this room have heard or said, I'm Baptist, or I'm Church of Christ, or I'm Presbyterian, or I'm Lutheran, or I'm Catholic, and assume that the person you were talking to about that knew exactly what that meant? Anyone? Okay. So I think the very first step in places like this is, as part of nonviolence, is to first say, I honor the tradition of which you are a part. And I would do it this way. And I actually don't know very much about it. I have a lot of assumptions about what Lutherans believe or are, just because I lived in Minnesota. Okay? And my great-grandmother's German. So I have a picture right here of Lutheran, all right? I never ask a Lutheran if that's accurate. I probably spent more time in conversation with a Lutheran this morning than I have in 20 years, unless I was protesting. I think the most important thing is to begin the conversation by saying, I really want to know about your tradition. What is it you believe? Where are you coming from? Like your ears are absolutely enormous, and all you're going to do is sit and listen and listen and listen. If that first step doesn't happen, you will never bridge. You'll both be in your same chairs, under your same umbrellas. And the critical thing is, while that disclosure is taking place and that sharing is happening, is don't interrupt. Church people are chronic interrupters, right? We never hear something fully out if the thing we hear isn't our thing. And we're very scripted and very skilled in our ways of interrupting, so they seem gracious and they still seem including, but in fact they totally stop the conversation. So I don't know what's happening on this campus, but what I know is if that step is not happening, nothing is happening. I'm going to give you an example. Interfaith Council meeting in Abilene, Texas, supposedly is interfaith, right? It's the name. They invited me to speak 3 years ago. They withdrew the invitation 3 different times because it was too controversial. Because a lot of people in the Interfaith Council, even though they're interfaith, do not think gay people are okay. And they didn't want to hear a gay person who professed to be a Christian, which could not be possible, right? Talk to them.